Hello and welcome to the Right Click Save podcast. I'm your host Calcio, as always joined by Jimmy T.
Yeah, today we're going to be looking at some innovative social staking mechanics from a new project on Sol. We're going to be chatting about persevering in the bear market, and we're also going to think about what it actually means for millions of people onboarding into the space. What difference is it going to make?
If you haven't already though, please do like this video and subscribe to the Right Click Save podcast. We interview the biggest names in the space and we make bangers. We would hate for you to miss out on those because they're absolutely fantastic.
Oh, I love making a banger.
Yeah, me too.
So, social staking, did you see that this is blowing up on Twitter at the moment?
I did actually see that because we'd bought a ute a few weeks ago. So we had a couple of Sol spare in a wallet and I thought, it'd be kind of fun to use that for something. You know, it's really good to engage with different communities. Sol is ripping at the minute in general, like it is keeping the NFT market vibrant and fun. And I saw these little cats and they were kind of clean. And there was something about them that was a bit interesting because I kept seeing them as profile pictures out of nowhere. And I thought, why is that?
Yeah, so the social staking mechanic, I mean, it's one of the problems in the space. I went to check out some more information on BVDCAT, as they're called, but it's really, really difficult. You go to the website, there's loads of lore, the roadmap is quite obscure, so I ended up going to their Twitter, into their Discord. There's a lot of steps. If you want to find out about a project in the NFT space at the moment, it's a bit of a nightmare. But what I can tell from what they're doing is their staking mechanism for holding their NFT is based on you actually using it as your profile picture. So you'll earn a token. They seem to have a couple of tokens, but you earn a token from using your BVDCAT as a profile picture, and then you can use that to purchase traits. I think they said seasonal traits that are going to come out later on that are linked to phygital rewards. One of my favorite words, that phygital.
I think the actual concept is interesting because we've seen takes on it before where people have had you use certain hashtags or tweet about a project and it will give you a score or whatever, and you can then use that for X, Y, and Z. The only problem, we chatted about this earlier, was, well, if I don't want to use it as my Twitter profile picture, so for both of us at the moment, we are animated as a character every single week, several times a week, so it's our brand. My doodle is literally my NFT brand. I can't change my profile picture. I can't do that. Yeah. And for me to get the most out of this project, I kind of need to change it. But without just focusing on the negative, I think what's really interesting is that people are trying to find different kinks in the armor.
Quest for the meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just going back on that point that you just made, that was 100% for me the issue with it. So I looked at it, I thought I really like the artwork. I think they've done a really good job of putting everything. Their website's clean, the artwork looks good. They've got a hype community, big ingredients that you need for a successful NFT project. As you said, we've got a few in our shared wallet, a few Sol spare. I went and had a little look, jumped on Eden, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to use this as my profile picture, even though I like it and it would be cool. I don't have time to set up another rig at the moment. I'm quite happy with my loser. So it put me off buying it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get the utility out of it. If I'm buying this, it's purely for a speculative flip.
But it leads nicely actually into something we were chatting about earlier, which is how the reality of the market at the moment is just learning. Like actually, instead of necessarily going out and always jumping into these opportunities, whereas perhaps 6 to 8 months ago I'd have just gone, fuck it, it's $250, $300. I'll have 3-4 of them and I'll spend $1,000, never use them, never get the full utility,
sell
never
them the day
really
before they
research them. Yeah, probably. Instead, taking that time to just educate yourself on a new project, again, it might rip. It might go up to 50, 100, 200 Sol and I'll be sitting there.
Oh, it will. Now we haven't bought it will.
Yeah. But the actual premise of perseverance in this market is what I'm most engaged with at the moment. I've listened to loads of different podcasts about it. Zenek had a really good thread where he chatted about how he just found his niche and persevered with it. Yeah. And Elio Trades chatted on the NGMI podcast about how when he'd lost a shitload of money in the last bear market, instead of giving up, he went, right, I'm just going to make more content. I'm going to deep dive into this and become more knowledgeable. And I think that's what everyone really should be looking to do now. Not necessarily spending money every time, just learning more to be prepared for when X, Y, and Z does happen.
Well, it's exactly the same as the crypto market. So, as I always say, I got into crypto in 2017 and then survived through the 2018, 2019, beginning of 2020 kind of bear market, crypto winter, where I kind of engagement was down. Not a lot of people were interested anymore. It was just a few people that remained, and the people that remained then were the people who then did really, really, really well when the bull market returns. The market starts popping again because they built that foundation and they were real in the space and they knew what they were doing.
For me as well, I think we're seeing a shift towards more educational, demanding content, not just necessarily in terms of the really basic stuff, i.e. how do I set up a MetaMask wallet or a Sol wallet, whatever, but actually a bit more understanding of what things are and what they do. In the height of the bull market, it's really easy to just go, I'm going to click all these buttons, spend lots of money, and just kind of hope it works. But having that time to reflect and actually go, do I understand every single thing I'm really doing? Do I understand what all of these transactions are at, or everything I'm clicking? What actually am I doing? That, for me, is something which I feel people really need to be focusing on. It sounds obvious.
Is it because you get to that point where it's like, oh, hang on, what have I been doing? I need to look at this. I need to be able to justify this when someone says, where's that 40 grand that you had like a few months ago that you were boasting about? It's like, you need to be able to, when they question you on these things, be able to back it up with some good jargon and tech speak.
Listen, right now, Jimmy, I have a wallet full of cats, little weird creatures, and a variety of different other horrible things that have cost me a lot of money. That, to be honest, at the time,
Jimmy Dow.
Retrospectively, I should have. Well, Jimmy Dow's an icon. I should have spent a lot more time really looking into the project the same way I would any other investment. And I think this is where we chatted about it briefly beforehand, how this mass onboarding event that everyone is waiting for actually could be really bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would say really bad, but I think expectations is a key thing. So let's talk about Coinbase for a moment. So Coinbase was this big promised marketplace that was going to come and onboard loads and loads of people, and it was going to therefore have a massive impact in the space. Obviously, didn't happen. Now we've got things like Apple have announced today they're going to allow games to integrate Web3 and NFTs into their games for payments and things like that. I think they're big furore about them wanting to charge 30% as an additional commission. You've got Starbucks of launching their loyalty as an NFT. It's not long until people will have NFTs in their life, and whether or not they know it, more and more people are going to learn about what an NFT is. Now, the general consensus and expectation of that is that's going to have bring a bullish sentiment to the market and inflate the value of everyone's NFTs. But what I was thinking today and recently is actually this could probably have the complete opposite effect on 99.9% of the NFT projects out there. And in fact, most of these NFTs, their value is propped up on the fact that they're an NFT. It's a novelty. And actually, if you remove the novelty aspect of that, because everyone's got an NFT, it's not special, it's an NFT, everyone's got NFTs everywhere. What is the underlying value of that asset? And that's what I started to think about and realised that when everyone says about 99.9% of NFTs going to zero, that is probably one of the key drivers that's going to make that happen.
When you mentioned this to me earlier, I thought, shit, do you know a really obvious kind of clear thing that's a problem here? We as a space have relied on gimmicks, like the whole social staking is a gimmick. It's clever, it's effective, and it's really interesting, but it's not real utility. It's literally a gimmick. And I think that the concern short term is that those things are only gimmicks. However, what will be interesting to see, and it will happen because it always does, someone's going to innovate to a level that they can supersede this mass everything is an NFT. And I think we've seen with even just the way Utes did the Ute list, how there's one key way you can create a massive driver, and that is giving exclusivity based on who you are and what you are. You know, the whole reason that certain alpha groups or whatever you want to call them have done so well is because they've made people feel like they are good enough to do something better than other people if you want, and that is status. A massive and status, and that's why I think, you know, and everyone who chats to anyone about this specific topic will always agree that certain collections, Bored Ape, Punks, I'd Like to Hope Doodles, and a few others would always kind of be above.
Yeah, I think
that
the blue chips,
drop.
they're resistant to it. I think so, and they've got history and historic value. But I think future projects and a lot of the kind of sort of mid to low tier projects that are kind of just hovering around sort of low ETH prices are just never really going to get going again. And it's really going to be separating the space into people that really work hard and bring some kind of utility or status or benefit of owning that NFT. I think long gone will be the time where a little gimmick will drive your NFT project to the top of the market.
That's why I do think that persevering with learning is going to be key. You know, I've used this analogy so many times. Be toilet paper. You don't need to be the best at absolutely everything you do, but what is really important is to be useful to everyone or as many people as possible.
Is that your review of our podcast, toilet paper?
That's what I'd like to say. I'd like to say so. You know, there's people
so
who
yeah,
get...
anyone watching, if you could let us know if we've fulfilled our ambition of being toilet
We're
paper.
at least 3 ply, though. I want to be at least 3 ply. No, but
Kleenex Balsam.
But hear me out here, right? Okay, cool. I can go on a really... Tell me how to learn about doodles in 5 minutes or less. How would I do that? Imagine if there was a channel...
This is a shameless plug.
Or a guy, or a pair of guys, two twats in a garage.
You know,
literally
as I was saying earlier,
content.
trying to find out about BVD to talk about it on this episode was really, really difficult. And I think that is why we came up with the explain a video format, because... quite frankly, we would quite like that that format of content to be able to digest to find out about a project.
Like, you know, for me as well, I think the biggest thing is that, like, I cannot always work out what is valid and invalid content for a project. Like, it's tough, isn't it? Sometimes you sit and you think, do I need to know this? What actually is going on? And even within their websites, even if you go to the FAQ often leads to a Discord chat or something like that, which is always
I ended up having to go into Discord and like scroll up the announcements. And like for example with BVD, and don't get me wrong, I think everything's super clean what they've done. I think it's a cool little gimmick they've got with the social staking. It's a good idea, hype, speculation, artwork's cool, website looks slick. But I went there and the website's just like lore everywhere, and I'm like not really into the lore side of NFTs. I like that lore. Like, I'm a big fan of like Tolkien. I was a big fan of Game of Thrones, things like that. I like getting into like the background story, but those are really specific, really good authors that I enjoy the lore from. Not, as we often say on the podcast, two twats in a garage putting together an NFT project and writing some lore on the back of a beer mat and then translating it into their Discord at some point.
That is actually a great idea. So I'm thinking we should pivot, fuck the
Beer
podcast off, and just go... No, worse than that. Let's go write an entire movie, full lore of a movie.
Beer mat.
We do it in Germany next week.
I have been hearing a lot that storytelling NFTs are going to be the next big thing.
Can we just do like some flashback here to like me going on about this for months and months and months?
I mean, it's the same as when everyone was telling me a year ago that music NFTs are going to be the next big thing. Music NFTs, what a ridiculous, like, expensive way to digest what's almost free content in the real world. Music has been almost free for a long time.
They've given it really storytelling just makes it sound a bit like, and actually it's just. It's not the right way of phrasing it. It's what I've talked about, creating IP people give a shit about.
NFTs.
Narrative NFTs. It's just giving someone IP they give a shit about, which we don't have at the minute. Yeah. So when that happens, Jimmy, call me. But it won't happen because people in this space at the moment, where the hell are we going with this? But it doesn't matter.
We're well off our structure for what we were going to talk about today.
It's fine.
But I like it.
I'm having a great time. I don't know. I want to see where it goes. I think... we've been wanging on about Doodles loads recently because it is a project that's kind of like close to my attention. And obviously our lovely, big guest we got coming on, we've wanted for a long time, Alfie Motion is going to be on the pod, which is awesome.
I might have to upgrade your animation.
He is going to be sitting there when he watches it going, oh, that's not great, Jimmy. Oh, God.
No, yeah, it makes me feel a little bit sick, to be honest. He's such a good
not sure
animator.
I could afford him, to be fair, to replace
you. I mean,
like,
obviously, bear in mind, like, I do all the animation, 45-minute episodes on my own. To do it like in proper style would be impossible.
Why don't you just turn around to him and go, look, you can animate yourself on this episode?
I always think that he might offer it and then just absolutely blow mine out of the water, and I'll be like, oh, great.
Like I said, I can't afford him, so it's not like I can replace you for him. I literally probably, he probably has actual, like, wants to be paid for his work. So,
Yeah. Someone has to get paid for it.
Yeah, so we've actually got some huge guests coming on in the very near future. We're talking some amazing projects, and most importantly, we have had a lot of fun making a stupid amount of content in the kind of past week or two.
Yeah, we got loads going on. We had 2 episodes and explained a video on Artie. You should definitely check that out. We've got this short form episode is coming out, I think it'll be Tuesday when it's out. We've got another episode with 2 more projects that we interviewed, some really interesting stuff. We've got Alfie Motion. We're recording with him next week, which is huge, especially for me. Love his work as an animator. I don't even think I could be put in the same category as him as an animator. He's something bigger and better than me, that's for sure. And then very excitingly, we're going on Overpriced JPEGs, Cardi Riley's podcast. We're recording that not till November, but some definite exciting stuff in the pipeline.
Yeah, so again, as always, if you have enjoyed this episode, we have an abundance of other content with some huge names in the space, and we'd really appreciate if you could subscribe, because we will continue to put out a ridiculous amount of content. We will persevere. Isn't that right, Jim?
Yeah, that's right. Loads of content coming at you from everywhere. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.